So here we have all of 2023, 2024. And then we get to the election. Whoa. And then Trump wins. Oh. And then he's inaugurated. Poland has triggered NATO's Article 4 after Prime Minister Donald Tusk reported that 19 Russian drones, get out of here, reached Polish airspace.
Must fight for its place in the world, in which many major powers are either ambivalent or openly hostile to Europe. A world of imperial ambitions and imperial wars in which...
Oh, she said the word! Oh, she said the word! Imperial wars. That's what I've been saying all the time. It's fucking imperial ambitions and imperial wars. That's all it is. It could be doing a little bit... No, it's not Trump's fault. I think... What I think it is that Trump has a soft spot for Putin. Trump has a soft spot for dictators. And I think Putin knows that he has more wiggle room when Trump is in office, or if Trump is president. And we have seen that. He's not as hawkish as Biden was. He has filled the Pentagon with people who I would say are scarily pro-Russian. Trump is too stupid to know what Russia's actual goal is, what Putin's actual goal is, which is to, recreate the Russian Empire, basically. Create a system of vassal states in Eastern Europe, which is why the whole Alaska thing was such a farce. It's, man. What the fuck, Russia? That is very true words. I took these notes yesterday because I wanted to talk about this yesterday. And, well, let's just say I was distracted. Started watching the Hutch stream around after midnight, and then yeah, let's mute that. Yeah, started watching Hutch right after midnight, and then the whole Charlie Kirk thing happened. I've talked about that. I'm pretty done talking about that. First of all, yeah.
Ukraine just days removed from...
They sent drones. Russia sent drones into Poland. What the fuck? Wait, how did that happen? Wait, when, what? Imagine waking up and just going, oh, Russian drones into Poland? What the fuck? That was kind of my reaction. Like, if you need any type of proof to tell, like, the... What would you call them? The Russian tools, the fucking Vatniks, that Russia isn't interested in peace. They just want to win the war. And they want to escalate it. Like, what else is there? It's this, right?
Today, in the early hours of the morning on Wednesday, the 10th of September 2025, the nation of Poland came under attack. What the fuck, Russia? You're making me get up really early. Just across the border, soldiers and civilians in western Ukraine are under heavy bombardment from Russian kamikaze drones in the latest of a long and devastating series of overnight attacks. But then, Russian drones started turning toward Poland. Not just one or two,
volume on the video. Sorry.
During the war, but an entire swarm of them, crossing one after another until it was clear that this just couldn't possibly be an accident. Before long, multiple major airports across Poland were shut down. Civilians in several regions were ordered to shelter in place, and Polish and NATO-allied warplanes were dropping kamikaze drones out of the sky. Over the long span of the war in Ukraine, what happened last night is entirely unprecedented.
Yeah.
But if the Western world is honest with itself, we know exactly what this is. For years, the nations of the NATO alliance have
So this isn't a surprise at all. We knew this would happen at some point, and Russia will try to once again test NATO resilience and especially test the United States. Oof. Listen, let's just have him talk about the attack, then we'll
Vladimir Putin's Russia would act
go
to
into
directly challenge
the rest.
NATO's resolve. Now, we know for certain that day is today. Now, at first, it seemed as if the overnight hours from Tuesday the 9th until Wednesday the 10th would be a perfectly ordinary night of horrors in Eastern Europe. In Ukraine, just days removed from Russia's single largest air attack of the entire war so far, air raid sirens were sounding yet again, with Russia carrying out a predictable but terrifying sequence of events. First, the drone swarms would arrive, autonomous waves of explosive kamikaze UAVs that were most likely built in Russia, but typically based on an Iranian design, the Shahed 136. Those drones would fly slowly across Ukraine until they finally reached their targets, all the while waiting for air defenses to roar to life and bring them down. Once the air defenses were engaged, Russian strategic bombers would release their payloads, long-range missiles that can travel far faster. If Russia's attacks work as intended, those missiles will arrive just as Ukrainian air defenses are struggling to replenish interceptor rockets fast enough to deal with these swarms of drones overhead, substantially raising the chance that missiles, the actual projectiles Russia wants to score hits, will be able to break through to their targets. But at about 1:15 in the morning local time, several Russian drones started flying even further west, past any targets in Ukraine, and eventually past the border entirely. Online, war observer accounts and open-source intelligence analysts on social media picked up on the problem, unable to come to any hard conclusions about what had happened, but observing that whatever it was almost certainly bad news. Also on social media, scattered reports, audio and even video began to trickle in from Poland, indicating that fighter jets had been scrambled and were moving all across the country's east. A major airport was announced as closed, and then another, and then two more after that, including two airports that serve Warsaw. And to be clear, Warsaw is not close to the Ukrainian border, indicating the depth of territorial penetration that these drones achieved. Global flight tracking services showed multiple military aircraft active over Polish territory, an air-to-air refueler from the NATO fleet circling and circling the same route, a Polish early warning and control plane, also doing loops but moving progressively deeper into Polish territory as if it were tracking incoming threats. And for just a few minutes, an F-35 fighter jet, marked as being from the US Air Force, although possibly Dutch, that turned on its transponder and squawked a code that indicated that it had lost communication. Fighter jets were reported in more and more locations, while other routes seemed to indicate that drones might have crossed over Moldova or even Russian-friendly Slovakia, although hard confirmation from Moldova has not been announced as of the time of writing. For a span...
I don't think we've heard anything new about this. I have not seen anything new. To be fair, my Twitter feed has kind of been taken over right now. Oh. Fuck. Like, speaking about Charlie Kirk and why. Now, I really dislike the man. Or disliked the man. Yes, Charlie was full of shit, but we can't just kill people because we don't like them or their ideas. That's what Russia is doing to Ukraine, and also what Putin is doing to other Russians. So, it's, awful person, awful opinions, awful takes, but fucking hell, political murder is not the solution.
Of a couple of hours. It wasn't clear whether the incident was an international provocation from Russia or possibly an accident. for a single group of
So
drones to experience some kind of
Yeah.
malfunction, then drift into Polish airspace or be guided there erroneously by their
basically, just watch this video. It's a great video. Russia's finally attacked NATO alliance. We will continue here because we need to talk about some stuff about Trump being the anti-war president, you know, which is complete fucking bullshit. Russian attacks in Ukraine doubled since Trump inauguration. This was in August 6th, so about a month ago. So here we have all of 2023, 2024. And then we get to the election. Whoa. And then Trump wins. Oh. And then he's inaugurated. So this is per month. This is over 6,000 missile strikes into Ukraine. Every month. No, in the last month. Oof. Attacks had already been rising under former President Joe Biden in 2024, but climbed sharply after Trump's election victory in November. Since he returned to office in January, recorded aerial attacks from Moscow have reached their highest levels of the war. Like, for example, I think it was this night when the incursion into Poland happened. It was like 800 drones or 800 missiles. It was something like that. It was crazy. It's just insane numbers. And you cannot look at these numbers and go, oh yeah, they want peace. That's not what's happening here. He's not. Okay, the idea that this fucking war was brought on by Joe Biden is delusional. If anything, I would say that having a pro-NATO president actually kind of hurried on, kind of made Russia stress out, going, oh fuck, we have to attack quickly before more weapons and training go into Ukraine. Anyways, this is mostly because I wanted to show this graph. Whew, zooey. Then Poland invoked Article 4. And I believe these discussions have already started. Poland has triggered NATO's Article 4 after Prime Minister Donald Tusk reported that 19 Russian drones, get out of here, breached Polish airspace. Here we have the drones. These are the drones. Very cool. Very cool. The Russian Shah d'Affaires in Poland, who was summoned to the Polish Foreign Ministry to deliver a note of protest, refused to admit that the UAVs were Russian. So we got confirmation that they were Russian drones, yes. Update. Poland urgently asks NATO for more air defense after Russian drone strike. I would say the whole fucking Eastern Front and Northern Europe and Ukraine all need more air defense. Oh, we got... This is an hour ago. This is breaking news. Sweden will send air defense and aircraft, and the Czech Republic will send helicopters to protect Polish airspace from Russian drones. Good. This is very good news. I do not, once again, I do not agree with Sweden's right-wing government on a lot of things, but we're all united in this, right? This goes across party lines. And I am very happy about that. Where were I? Yeah, they have invoked Article 4. The thing is, NATO and especially Europe needs to act properly. That's what I wanted to say. We cannot just use words. We cannot pussyfoot around this. We have to actually do actions. We have to, do anything. And this is anything, right? This is anything. This is something. And we cannot sit still and just wait for the Americans to give a thumbs up or thumbs down. If Trump wants to keep being a Russian tool, he can do that. But Europe cannot wait for the Americans. If the Americans want to wait and we cannot wait, we shouldn't. Czech Prime Minister Petr Fiala said that the Russian drone attack, which reached Polish territory, is a direct test of NATO's defense capabilities. It is hard to believe that this was a coincidence. Putin's regime threatens all of Europe and systematically tests how far it can go. What we can do, we can, of course, boost our own air defenses. Do that in Poland, do that in the Baltics, do that in the Nordics, in Eastern Europe. Send more long-range stuff to Ukraine. More missiles, more robots. You cannot let this go unpunished. That's just how it is. Here we have some more on Article 4 from PBS. So Article 5 is the big one. It's the big gun, the big boy. Article 5 is an attack against one, is an attack against all. But there are multiple articles, obviously, if you have an Article 5. I should really read up on all of them, but here's the Article 4 that Poland invoked. The parties will consult together whenever the opinion of any of them, the territorial integrity, the political independence, or the security of any of the parties is threatened. So it's basically just, hey, we really need to talk about this. And the expectations with these talks is that some sort of action will be taken. And fucking big claps, congrats. At least my government is doing something. Then you have the people who are willing to pussyfoot around, who are willing to wait and see, who are afraid to escalate, even though Europe is never escalating. We are only responding to Russian escalations. But it's just fucking Spain, for example. I would say maybe not so much Italy. You have Orban in Hungary, still being a Russian asset, which is so embarrassing. I really hope he loses the next election. It's the election in Hungary in next year. Is it 2026? Yeah. It is not going well for Orban. It is. How the fuck did they have almost 60%? Holy shit. Those are crazy numbers. Crazy.
But we have all seen.
Here's von der Leyen. Let's listen to von der Leyen.
But we have all
Oh my
seen
god, she's
what
so
Russia
quiet.
means by
What the fuck? She's so
diplomacy.
quiet. Von der Leyen. Oh, Blue Magic Man. Thank you for the follow. Yo, what's up? What's up? We're listening to von der Leyen right now, but she's pretty quiet. What is it, APT?
Putin refuses to meet President Zelensky. Last week, Russia launched the largest number of drones and ballistic missiles in a single attack.
There we go. Let's raise the volume a bit.
Yesterday, there was a missile attack on a village in Donetsk, targeting people waiting to pick up their pensions. More than 20 were killed.
20?
And just today, we have seen a reckless and unprecedented violation of Poland and Europe's airspace by more than 10 Russian Shahid drones. Europe stands in full solidarity with Poland.
Yes, good. Of course we do. But what should we do about it? Do we get a response? That's the that's the question. That's what I want to know. Let's see.
Putin's message is clear.
Oh, it's worth seeing if there's any cowards like sitting down. Do we have like a good overhead view? Oh, come on, they're standing up. Good. Oh no, oh no, look at them. Oh no, look at those ERC. Look at the Patriots for Europe. Absolutely not Russian assets. Oh, look at them, just fucking cowards.
Putin's message is clear, and our response must be clear too. We need more pressure on Russia to come to the negotiation table. We need more sanctions. We are now working on the 19th package in coordination with partners. We're particularly looking at phasing out Russian fossil fuels faster. We're looking at the shadow fleet and at third countries. Must fight for its place in the world, in which many major powers are either ambivalent or openly hostile to Europe. A world of imperial ambitions and imperial wars. A world in which...
Oh, she said the word! Oh, she said the word! Imperial wars. That's what I've been saying all the time. It's fucking imperial ambitions and imperial wars. That's all it is. Russia doesn't fucking end the war. Russia doesn't want to end the war because they see it as like a big piece in their empire building, or at least Putin does.
Dependencies are ruthlessly weaponized, and it is for all these reasons that a new Europe must emerge. And honorable members, This must be Europe's independence moment. I believe this is our union's mission, to be able to take care of our own defense and security, to take control over the technologies and energies that will fuel our own
Very good
economies.
words. Very good words. But this should have been said in 2014, 11 fucking years ago, where Russia first went into the Donbass and annexed Crimea. Why? Now it's too late. It was too late in 2022. It's even more too late now. We're so late with this.
To decide what kind of society and democracy we want to live in. To be open to the world and choose partnerships with allies, old and new. Ultimately, it is about having the freedom and the power to determine our own destiny. And we know we can do it. Because together we have shown what is possible when we have the same ambition, unity and urgency. I must say I've lost count of the number of times that I was told that Europe could not do this and could not do that in the pandemic, on the recovery plan, on defense, on supporting Ukraine, on energy security, and the list goes on. Every time Europe stood united and made it. And we need to do the same now. So, honourable members, the central question for us today is a simple one.
Yes.
Does Europe have the stomach to fight? Do we have the unity and the sense of urgency, the political will and the political skill to compromise? Or do we just want to fight between ourselves, be paralyzed by our divisions? That is what all of us have to answer.
And how many
Every
of
member
these
state.
how many of these divisions are genuine and how many of them are just like Russian psyops? That's what I'm asking. Because I do believe, call me a conspiracy theorist, but I do believe that a lot of this is just Russian psyops.
Every member of this House, every commissioner, all of us. And in my eyes, the choice is very clear. So my pitch today is a pitch for unity. Unity
let's keep it
between
there.
member states. Unity between European institutions. Unity between the pro-European democratic forces of this House.
Yes. Based. Are we moving towards a based European
I'm here,
Federation?
And the entire college is here, ready to make this happen with you. Ready
Who knows?
to strengthen
Maybe we
the
are.
pro-European democratic majority, because it is the only one that can deliver for Europe.
Yes.
Honourable members, freedom and independence are what the people of Ukraine are fighting for every day. People like Sasha.
Here comes the butler with the fucking water. Here comes the water, man.
People like Sasha and his grandmother. Sasha was only
Look at
11
those
years
fucking
old
images.
when the Russians attacked. He and his mother sought refuge in a basement in their town in Mariupol. One morning they went out to get some food, and that's when all hell broke loose. A rain of Russian bombs on a civilian neighborhood. All became dark and Sasha felt his face burning. He had shrapnel just below his eyes. In a matter of days, Russian soldiers stormed the city. They took Sasha and his mom to what the Russians called a filtration camp. Then Sasha
A filtration camp? Oh, I see.
was taken away. They told him he didn't need his mom. He would go to Russia and have another
Oh, they're separating parents from their children.
was
Oh,
taken away. They told him he didn't need his mom. He would go to Russia and have another Russian mother, a Russian passport, a Russian name. They sent him to occupy Donetsk. But Sasha did not give up. On a stop on the way, he asked to borrow a stranger's phone. And he called his grandma, Ludmila, who was living in free Ukraine. Baba, just take me home. She didn't hesitate a second. Her friends told her she was crazy to go. But Ludmila moved mountains to get to him. And with the help of the Ukrainian government, she traveled to Poland, to Lithuania, to Latvia, Russia, and finally into occupied Ukraine. She got Sasha back. And through the same long journey, brought him to safety. But their hearts are still broken. Every single day they keep fighting to find Sasha's mom, stuck somewhere by Russia's brutal war. I would like to thank Sasha and Ludmila for allowing me to share their story. I'm honored that they are here with us today, and honored members,
them.
Please join me in paying tribute to Sasha, to Ludmila, and to Ukraine's relentless fight for freedom.
Oh no, that's them.
Stand up. Stand up.
Look at them. Look at them. Look at these. Look at. Oh. How fucking disgraceful. How pathetic do you have to be to hear that story and just sit there? All of these people. Take a good hard look at them. What a story. Let me remind you all of how many children has been kidnapped by Russia. It's over 20,000 now. It might be even more. It might be over 25,000. Ukraine kidnap children. Child abductions in the Russia-Ukrainian war. I think it's over 20,000 now. Last time I checked. So many. And then they're forced into foster care in Russia. And they go to like patriot schools. It's really just re-education camps. It's fucking disgusting. 20,000 children kidnapped, forced into foster care. They were like, God damn it! Can I find the video? It was like kind of like a pet store on like an online pet adoption site where they had pictures of the children and their names and like a little description of how good they were and how obedient they were, with like hair color, eye color, height, male, female. It's fucking disgusting. It was like an online pet auction site, but it was for adoption of Ukrainian kidnapped children. I wish I was making this shit up, but I'm not. Fucking disgusting. I'll see if I can find it. I might have liked the post. I can sadly not find them. God damn it. I'll see if I can find it. That was disgusting. I looked at that and I was like, how can you play defense for this? Insane, crazy stuff.
Sadly, Sasha's story is far from unique. There are tens of thousands more Ukrainian children whose fate is unknown, trapped, threatened, forced to deny their identities. We must do everything in our power to support Ukraine's children. And that is why I can announce that, together with Ukraine and other partners, I will host a summit of the International Coalition for the Return of Ukrainian Children. Every abducted child must be returned.
Yes. True.
Honorable members, this war needs to end with a just and lasting peace for Ukraine. Because Ukraine's freedom is Europe's freedom. The images in Alaska were not easy to digest. But just a few days later, European leaders came to Washington to support President Zelensky and secure commitments. Real progress has been made since then. Just last week, 26 countries in the coalition of the willing said they were ready to be part of a reassurance force in Ukraine or participate financially in the context of a ceasefire. We will continue to support all diplomatic efforts to end this war. But we have all seen what Russia means by diplomacy. Putin refuses.
Where is it? There it is. Russian diplomacy, by the way. There it is. This is Russian diplomacy. This is Russian peace talks.
To meet President Zelensky. Last week, Russia launched the largest number of drones and ballistic missiles in a single attack. Yesterday, there was a missile attack on a village in Donetsk, targeting people waiting to pick up their pensions. More than 20 were killed. And just today, we have seen a reckless and unprecedented violation of Poland and Europe's airspace by more than 10 Russian Shahid drones. Europe stands in full
That they got from Iran.
solidarity with Poland.
Duh. Everyone's standing up. Whee! Doing the wave.
Putin's message is clear, and our response must be clear too. We need more pressure on Russia to come to the negotiation table. We need more sanctions. We are now working on the 19th package in coordination with partners. We're particularly looking at phasing out Russian fossil fuels faster.
And that's it? Okay. I wanted to hear more about the sanctions packet. Let's see. Can I read anything about it? Let's see, Reuters. Oh, whoa, that's what. This is more what I was looking for. Chinese refineries? Ooh, are we going big? Are we going hard? No, what is this? No, I don't want to claim this offer. God damn it, Bloomberg. God, fuck you. Okay, let's continue. We have Mark Rutte.
Washington Treaty.
A short little thing about the NATO response yesterday.
Last night, numerous drones from Russia violated Polish airspace. Our air defenses were activated and successfully ensured the defense of NATO territory, as they are designed to do.
Yes.
Several allies were involved alongside Poland. This included Polish F-16s, Dutch F-35s, Italian AWACS, NATO multi-role tanker transport and German Patriots. I commend the pilots and all who contributed to this quick and skillful response. The North Atlantic Council met this morning and discussed the situation in light of Poland's request for consultations under Article 4 of the Washington Treaty.
Oh.
Allies expressed solidarity with Poland and denounced Russia's reckless behavior. A full assessment of the incident is ongoing. What is clear is that the violation last night is not an isolated incident. The Supreme Allied Commander will continue to actively manage our deterrence and defense posture along the entire...
He said it! Let's listen to that again.
...isolated incident. A full assessment of the incident is ongoing. What is clear is that the violation last night is not an isolated incident.
True.
The Supreme Allied Commander will continue to actively manage our deterrence and defense posture along the entire eastern flank. Allies are resolved to defend every inch of Allied territory. We will closely monitor the situation along our eastern flank, our air defenses continually at the ready. This only reinforces the importance of NATO and the path to which allies agreed at our summit in The Hague earlier this year. We need to invest more in our defense, ramp up defense production, so we have what we need to deter and defend. And we need to continue to support Ukraine, whose security is interlinked with our own. And let me conclude by saying that Russia is waging a dangerous war of aggression against Ukraine that continually targets civilians and civilian infrastructure. Allies are determined to step up their support for Ukraine in the face of Russia's escalating campaign. With that, I'm willing to take one or two questions.
Secretary General, thank you very much. Andrew Gray from Reuters. Do you have any initial assessment of the intent behind this incident? Was it a deliberate attack, a deliberate incursion, or a mistake? And do you have any particular message for Russia, for President Putin, about this incident?
Yes, as I said.
So I read the comment down here about the 300 billion of frozen Russian assets. Most of that is in Europe. It's $217 billion of those are in Europe. Oh, God damn it. And the chances of seizing that. Here we have something about that. Let's see what this is. What the wrestles with what to do with the Russians with Russia's frozen assets. I'm like, just confiscate them. War operations. Ha ha ha. Hell yeah. Hey, we're just taking out these war operations a little beforehand. EU countries want to use the mobilized funds to support Ukraine, but they remain divided on how to do so. And whether they can or should fully seize them. Yes, seize the Russian assets. So, yeah, the EU holds about 217 billion of the 300 billion frozen Russian assets in the West. And I'm very much in favor of just seizing it. I don't see any reason not to, really. It could really be a big boost in money to Ukraine, in as, you know, war reparations that we can then give to Ukraine. Like, just show Russia in with actions that we mean business. Not just words, just seizing these $210 billion. Let's see. Yeah, 201 billion euros. Just seizing that is a really, like, clear thing we can do right away. The question is if that's going to happen.
Said a full assessment is ongoing. But of course, whether it was intentionally or
Even
not,
though, yeah, I'd
it
like
is
that to happen.
absolutely reckless. It is absolutely dangerous. But as I said, the full assessment is ongoing. And to Putin, I mean, my message
Let's
is clear.
continue.
Stop the war in
Donald
Ukraine.
Tusk has also spoken.
Poland's Prime Minister says his country is the closest it's been to open conflict since World War II. This after NATO fighter jets shot down Russian drones.
It's a whole fucking 10-minute thing.
Earth shows where the drones hit the ground.
According to the Prime Minister, Article 4, which sets the stage for consultations with NATO allies.
Yes,
This
we know.
country is ready to repel what Poland is calling Russia's act of aggression.
We are most likely dealing with a large-scale provocation, but at the same time we're in consultation with our allies. I am in constant contact with the NATO Secretary General. This is so that we can respond to this type of threat as effectively as we did tonight.
And there was a very effective response. All respect to the NATO forces in Poland, handling that very well. The issue is kind of like everyone's waiting for the US to respond. I've not heard anything about a US response yet, what they think of the situation. But, you know, you can kind of question their NATO allegiances. Donald Trump has handpicked and, like, placed, what would you say? Loyal people in very important departments. It could just be a massive Russian psyop. You know, once again, I can be quite conspiratorial about that. But do you really trust Hegseth with this? Especially considering this. Balancing Act to cut to Baltic security funding. So the United States spend about $220 million a year to train the militaries in the Baltic countries, Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia, and also to help them buy military equipment, because these are very small countries with like populations of around 1 million, 1.5 million. So small countries, small economies, not because of how strong the economies are, but because of, you know, small countries. And also, $220 million in the US budget is fucking pocket change. So, is it really about, balancing cuts and balancing the defense budget? The Pentagon's move to cut security funding in the Baltics is frustrating some Republicans who saw the money as a way to help fend off Russian threats against Europe without direct US involvement. So they don't even have support from other Republicans. From some Republicans, at least, in Congress to do this. Yeah, the GOP pushback is limited. Which just shows just how useless the GOP is. How just bought up they are. A broader program for training and infrastructure programs around the world, known as Section 333, with the Baltic Security Initiative falls under, is also being re-evaluated, and its future is unclear. A few Republicans are speaking out. Representative Don Bacon, Republican Nebraska, said cutting security assistance for Eastern Europe would be a disastrous and shameful decision that showed weakness. Breaking news! Pentagon officials last week informed European diplomats that the US would no longer fund programs that train and equip militaries in Eastern Europe. If this is true, it's a disastrous and shameful decision. This administration continues to be weak towards Putin and a weak leader of the free world. This will read as an ugly chapter in US history if the president does not reverse course. And then I think we have actual spoken statement.
Congressman, I also want to ask you about another bit of foreign policy, specifically.
God damn it. God, stop.
Foreign policy, specifically in Europe. The administration has planned to halt security assistance to certain European allies, specifically Baltic states that border Russia. What is your response to that? Why are these funds being cut?
For no good reason. It's not a wise policy. Me and a lot of Republicans are angry about this. We know that the Baltic states are some of our closest
Great
allies.
white.
No one likes America more
Whoa,
than
thank you for the
Baltic
follow.
states. They're spending more on defense per
What's
GDP
going
than
on
we
right
are.
now?
They love freedom.
Chaos.
They love democracy. Every single
Chaos,
person
what's
in the
going on
Baltics,
right now?
every one of their families, so somebody was shot by the Russians or sent to Siberia. They know the threat.
So, oof. Like when was? Wait. Whoa. Let me check. When did this happen? So just days. This was days after, right? Yeah, September 5th. This was released. That they are no longer funding programs to train and equip militaries in Eastern European countries, including the Baltic states, which is the big one here. The small Baltic states. Populations of 1 million, 1.5 million. Small countries that does need help to equip themselves and to defend themselves. Cutting that, insane. Especially, and what happens soon after this is announced? We get the fucking drone strikes into Poland. There they are. This is absolute insanity. Insane. I'm way lost in my news. Drones. Yeah, Russia sent like a squadron of drones into Poland. That happened. It happened. So what I've done so far is we got a response from von der Leyen, who's the president of the European Commission. Dang, yeah, dang. And as usual, the Republicans are being absolutely useless. Trump is being a Russian psyop. Congress Republicans aren't doing shit to stop any of this. I still believe Trump is delusional enough to believe Russia wants peace when they obviously just want to win the war. I'll go through some other stuff just for you, Great White. Where's it? We have this beautiful chart. So this is from a month ago. So this is monthly missile and drone launches from Russia into Ukraine. And we see towards the end of 2024 it starts to go up with the election, and then Trump is elected. Oh, and then Trump is inaugurated. Whoa, whoa. It was like a couple of days ago we had the largest drone and missile strike into Ukraine so far in the war. 800 drones and missiles. And these are all targeting civilian infrastructure and civilian populations. Yeah. It's fucking over. And some of these were, like, we're not talking one or two drones that flew too far. That has happened. It's like, okay, drones sometimes malfunction. They fly too far and enter Poland. Like, but a whole squadron of like 10 of them? I don't know. That doesn't sound like coinkydink to me, right? Let's go back to... Was it Don Bacon? Yeah.
Congressman, I also want to ask you about another bit of foreign policy, specifically in Europe. The administration has planned to halt security assistance to certain European allies, specifically Baltic states that border Russia. What is your response to that? Why are these funds being cut?
The whole situation is fucked,
For no good
to be
reason.
honest.
It's not a wise policy. Me and a lot of Republicans are angry about this. We know that the Baltic states are some of our closest allies. No one likes America more than the Baltic states. They're spending more on defense per GDP than we are. They love freedom.
It could
They
be
love
doing a little
every
bit...
single
No, it's not Trump's fault.
person
I
in the-
think... What I think it is that Trump has a soft spot for Putin. Trump has a soft spot for dictators. And I think Putin knows that he has more wiggle room when Trump is in office, or if Trump is president. And we have seen that. He's not as hawkish as Biden was. He has filled the Pentagon with people who I would say are scarily pro-Russian. And Trump is too stupid to know what Russia's actual goal is, what Putin's actual goal is, which is to, recreate the Russian Empire, basically. Create a system of vassal states in Eastern Europe. Which is why the whole Alaska thing was such a farce. It's
in the Baltics, every one of their families knows somebody was shot by the Russians or sent to Siberia. They know the threat of Russia. We need to stand by them. We know the Undersecretary Elbridge Colby is behind this in the Pentagon. I reject it. He is leading the administration down a terrible path. It's
Yeah,
gonna be a
but
black
you're just
chapter
talking,
in
Don.
history if he has his way. When they read about Chamberlain in England appeasing Hitler and giving up Czechoslovakia, this is the equivalent of the decisions being made by folks in the Pentagon right now, and we have to resist it.
It's late to got a piece out. Yeah, it's been nice. Thank you for coming by. Thank you for the follow, by the way. I appreciate it. Yeah. The news are very doomer. It makes me very doomer-pilled right now. We kind of have to believe, keep faith that things can get better. But man, it's looking dark. Anyways, thanks for having me. Thanks for coming by.
Republicans need to stand up and oppose this, and we want to tell the president that you're being ill-served by leaders within the DOD right now. So we're gonna fight and make the case for keeping funding for the Baltic Security Initiative, but also to ensure that our friends in Ukraine receive the weapons they need, that we do the sanctions against Russia. Ukraine's fighting for freedom, democracy, rule of law. This president better be on the right side, and he's not.
Sounds great, Don, but like, are you working across the aisle with Democrats to like get any of this done? Are you trying to convince any of your Republican colleagues that this is fucking wrong and that, you know, we should support Ukraine and the Baltic states, and that this is stupid, and that this is basically, as he said, Chamberlain appeasing Hitler? Or is he just talking? Is he just talking on CNN? And then when he's in the Senate, he's actually doing fuck all. A mere handful of GOP votes could throw sand in the gears of Trump's agenda and get real action on standing up to Russia, but they won't stand up to him. Absolutely. And then it's just, on the EU side, we just need to do something about these frozen assets. Belgium does not think it should shoulder the risks alone. No, but the EU should do this together. Commonly. It's a Eurozone heavyweights, Germany, France, and Italy maintain that outright confiscation could shatter the EU's legal credibility and rattle global financial markets. But at the same time, we're in a war, right? It's a bloody war. This whole situation just sucks. Let's just continue with this video, then we're probably done with the politics for now.
Now, as we said at the outset of the episode today, if Poland and its NATO's allies are honest with themselves, there is only one way to interpret what just happened over Polish territory. Vladimir Putin had issued a test to the NATO alliance to see how NATO will respond to what was a brazen, coordinated overflight by numerous explosive kamikaze drones over the territory of a NATO member state. Remember, this sort of incident is entirely unprecedented in Poland or any other NATO member nation since the start of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Polish airports have never had to shut down. NATO fighter aircraft have never had to be scrambled to intervene. And Polish civilians have never had to shelter in place entire regions at a time because of a danger from Russian kamikaze drones. But it's precisely the kind of attack that Western analysts have expected from Russia for years. Eventually, Russia was going to do something that would send tensions with NATO skyrocketing in order to see whether the alliance's leaders would find their spines and stand up to him, or whether they'd roll over, as they've done oh so many times before. And if they do roll over, then Putin can assume that there will be no NATO collective response to the next, even more brazen act of aggression by Russia, or the next after that, or the next after that. As for what the NATO alliance could do in the wake of what appears to have been a planned attack, that's difficult to say for sure. It's unlikely that Poland will invoke NATO's Article 5 provision of collective defence and ask that the whole of NATO join it in a conflict with Russia, considering that nobody appears to have died in Poland because of the drone wave, and Russia still has some veneer of plausible deniability. Some. But there are a whole lot of steps that Poland and the NATO alliance can take without having to invoke Article 5. For one thing, Poland can invoke Article 4, which would allow it to request consultations with alliance members over threats to its, quote, territorial integrity, political independence, or security, and beyond mere discussions, Poland and its NATO allies can take action. That action could involve transforming Polish airspace into a buzzing beehive of NATO air patrols, deploying troops on the ground to protect Polish territory in the nearby Baltic states, or otherwise positioning NATO assets much closer to the front. It could also involve NATO member nations, either acting through the alliance or through smaller coalitions, seeking to respond or retaliate in some way, possibly by taking direct action in the war in Ukraine. As an example, a rather restrained way to do that would be to help shoot down incoming drones the next time Russia attacks the western part of the country near NATO airspace.
You could say that's very much escalating, but at the same time, I could also argue that it's not escalating, it's responding to a Russian escalation. Is responding to an escalation itself on its own? Maybe not. And you could say, oh no, we're just shooting down Russian missiles and drones in western Ukraine just to make sure they don't fly into NATO territory. But at the same time, Russia has been bluffing this whole fucking time. Every time they said there's a red line and then we'll fucking send the nukes, every time that red line has been passed, nothing has happened.
The less restrained way would be to launch a strike against a Russian target, perhaps in the Donbass, Crimea, or another part of occupied Ukraine, so that the strike wouldn't be read as a direct attack on Russian sovereign territory. Technically, a retaliation could include a strike on Russian sovereign territory, but let's be real, that response would be next to impossible coming from this NATO alliance to deal with this incident. Whatever NATO chooses, it will need to act fast, and more importantly, it will need to act. These sorts of Russian probing actions, they're not new. Russia tests the limits of its adversaries all the time, whether by skirting sanctions, engaging in assassinations or sabotage across the global west, conducting small-scale military acts to test the waters before a larger planned escalation, or acting through mercenaries and unmarked, unidentified troops. As malevolent as...
Oh yeah, and the incursions into NATO countries' airspace, they do this all the time.
Those actions may be, they're also a form of data collection. Russia provides a stimulus, it measures a reaction, and it uses the resulting observations to decide on a course of action. The response of Poland and its NATO allies will determine everything about where this conflict goes next, and whether the data that comes back from Putin's probing attack against NATO either tells him to back down or push ahead. Make no mistake, while this attack is almost certainly an attempt to judge the response of NATO, it is an attack that was ultimately performed for an audience of one. NATO's Article 5 commitments will rest on the United States, despite Europe's recent efforts to change the game. And right now, the very arc of history will bend around Donald Trump's choice in this very moment. Despite any talk of peace, Vladimir Putin and his military have...
And I still believe Trump is too delusional to understand what is really going on. Does Trump genuinely believe that Putin wants peace? I think he's too fucking stupid to actually not believe that. I think Trump is too stupid to believe Putin when he says, oh yeah, we want peace, when everything Russia does is proof to the contrary.
made their intentions abundantly clear. From January 2023 until October of 2024, before Trump was elected, there wasn't a single instance where Russia had launched over 2,000 missiles and drones in the span of 1 month. In November, when Trump was elected, and in January, when he was inaugurated, Russia crossed the
look at that
2,000
data.
projectile threshold repeatedly. In February, March, and May of this year, it was over 4,000. In June, over 5,000. In July, over 6,000. And between August, after Trump's
Look at
Alaska
that
summit,
data. Jesus Christ. Once again, most of this is aimed at civilian infrastructure and civilian populations.
summit in September thus far, Russia has launched some of the largest air assaults of the entire war, including the largest, with well over 800 projectiles launched in a single night this past Sunday. Despite the rhetoric, it's the numbers that matter, and by the numbers, Vladimir Putin does not see Trump as a reason to scale down his military operations. Precisely the opposite, in fact. And now Putin has provided Trump and NATO with the ultimate test, the clear provocation of the NATO alliance that the world has anticipated for years. America's decision in this moment may prove pivotal. And up until now, the behavior of Trump and his allies toward Russia does not suggest that America will make a stand. And look, here at Warfront, we are under no illusions about the limitations of our reach. But to the extent that we have any voice at all, we would be remiss not to use it on a day that will become a pivot point in history, no matter which way history goes from here. This is the moment. This is when all of Europe's talk about finding its spine has to result in action. This timing wasn't a mistake. France's government just collapsed. Unrest in Britain is climbing. Global trust in America among its allies is dropping rapidly, and the world is distracted by yesterday's Israeli strike against the sovereign nation of Qatar. It's time to assume that America is not coming. After it failed to punish Putin for his ceasefire charade and failed to punish him for striking the British Council and the European Union officers in Kiev just last week, Russia is going to claim that this was an accident. It'll deny, it'll minimize, it will redirect blame. But the rest of the nations of NATO, the nations of Europe, must respond to this attack on the premise that it was entirely intentional. Those same NATO nations have been in agreement for years. Russia was always going to try something like this, and when it did, NATO would have to be ready. Now that day's arrived, and although Europe is nowhere near as ready as it wants to be, its leaders would have to be f***ing brain dead to believe that Russia would wait until Europe had grown strong.
Yeah.
Europe has to act now. It has to act decisively under imperfect conditions with the tools at its disposal, because if it fails to do so, well, the war for the future of Europe is going to become inevitable, isn't it? Thank you for watching. Get out, man. What the Russia?
What the fuck, Russia? That is very true words. Words so true, they are rarely spoken. Yeah, but I agree. Like, Europe has to do something. It has to act. It has to react. Because this is just going to get worse. This is going to get worse. That's it. Fuck. It is not a fun note to end on, but it is very much true. Man. God damn it. Those are the news for today. I'll just do a little... we'll end the stream just playing video games. Let's see. And I will